Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so glad you all are joining us today. I think people are going to start trickling in. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We'll give a second for people to join. In the meantime, we would really love it if you want to introduce yourself in the chat. So I'm Anna Funk. I'm here with SciStarter. I will be your host today. I am in Kansas City, Missouri. Maybe we don't have the chat on just yet. Roland, can you turn on the chat?
Chat's on, or at least it should be. I don't see any issues with it.
Oh, maybe no one wants to tell me where they're from. That's okay. Hi, everybody.
I'm zooming from Phoenix. I'll drop that in the chat so we can get.
Thank you.
Actually, I guess I'm in Litchfield, sort of Phoenix. Oh, there we go.
Awesome. There we all are. I love it. Oh, we have a master naturalist on the call. Exciting. All right. If you're just arriving, hi, everybody. Hi, Facebook Live. Hi, everybody on the Zoom webinar. If you're just arriving, please tell us where you're calling from in the chat. We just love to know where everybody is. Again, I'm Anna Funk. I'll be your host today. And I'm calling from Kansas City, Missouri. Cool. So today we're going to talk about who is that migrating through my yard. Before we get in, we'll just go through a few housekeeping things, introductions. So I'm Anna Funk. I'm a science communicator, and I'm here with SciStarter. I'll be guiding you through your journey today. We also have Roland on the line. Hi, Roland. And he's our IT support. He's going to be dropping links in the chat and on Facebook. Make sure everybody's in the loop on all the resources that we mention. And keep in mind that the links we provide will also be in the follow-up email that you'll get after this event. So if you're watching on Facebook and want those links sent to you, you can still follow the registration link that Roland's going to drop in the Facebook comments right now, and that will set you up to receive the follow-up email later. Awesome. So one other housekeeping note. So since this is an educational event, we'll just set some quick expectations. So at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see two separate buttons. One is chat and one is Q&A. And I want us to use those two things differently. So please use chat to just share messages. If you want to chit chat with other participants, you want to crack a joke, whatever, please use the chat. You can also use chat to send a direct message to Roland, IT support, if you're having trouble, like if you can't hear your sound and you want someone to like tell you what buttons to try. That's a good thing to direct message Roland through the chat on. Now, if you have questions for today's special guest, Nancy, who will meet in a second here, please put those in the Q&A so that we can get through those at the end of our time today. So any questions you have like related to the event, please put in the Q&A. Cool. So now I'm thrilled to introduce Nancy Sheehan. She is the program coordinator for Journey North, which we'll hear all about in a second. She's based at the UW-Madison Arboretum. Her background has been diverse in citizen science projects, done water quality and sinkhole monitoring. I will resist not asking you all about sinkholes. Sinkholes are super interesting. We'll have to follow up with that next time. And then, of course, bird migration tracking, which is bringing her closer and closer to Journey North today. Very great background, Yale graduate, Peace Corps alum, certified canoe instructor, and outdoor adventure educator, among many other exciting things. So super stoked to have Nancy here today. Before I turn it over to Nancy, I do want to ask you a few poll questions. If you've been with us on SciStarter Live before, you've heard these before, but we just got to ask every time. We want to know who's new and who's returning. So Roland's going to pop up a poll. Thank you, Roland. And we want to know, have you ever participated in a citizen science project? Give you a second to hit yes or no. Oh, it's pretty close. It's not quite half and half. We got majority yeses. 100% answered. Yes. Good job answering the poll, you guys. 10 yes, 7 no's. Okay. Here are results. Cool. Next up, is this your first SciStarter Live event? Have you been to a SciStarter Live? No, don't answer it how I said it. Have you been to a SciStarter Live event before, or is this your first time? Oh my gosh, is it going to be the same spread? No, exact 50-50. 10 yes, 10 no. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad. Welcome, newcomers. I'm excited that you picked such a good one to come to because I really like Journey North, so it's exciting. Cool. Shared results. Not sharing. Sorry, I'm bad at the polls. Finally, who are you? Are you an aspiring citizen scientist? Are you a student, maybe a parent or an educator? That includes troop leaders and other outside of school educators. At least one board person on the internet. I love board people on the internet. Welcome, board person. Cool. Here's our results. Lots of teachers. Hi, teachers. Hey. Okay, cool. Now we got a Journey North quiz. So have you heard of Journey North before, the project we're going to dive into today? Good spread, good spread. Again, pretty close to 50-50. You guys are so fast with the polls. This is amazing. Majority, yes. Got some good no's. In the right place. Okay, last question. This one's a quiz. Which migratory species are not tracked by Journey North volunteers? What do you think Journey North does not track? Well, it's extra hard because it's a choose all that apply. Oh my goodness. What's my guess? I don't know the answer to this off the top of my head, I think. Got a couple stragglers. Get those answers in. Okay, I'm calling it. I gotta see the answer. All right, here's our votes. Bluebirds was the most voted. Nancy, do you want to unmute and tell us the answer now, or do you want us to wait and tell us later?
Well, I can pop in. And actually, it was going to be part of the presentation, but this is perfect timing.
Oh, okay.
So the 9 of the 19 who said bluebirds were not one of our project species. They are correct. So ding, ding, ding for those 9.
Nice.
And all the other ones we do, our volunteers do track. So more on that later.
Interesting. Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, just a little bit to get us all oriented with citizen science before we turn it over to Nancy. So we're all here today because we are at least somehow interested in hearing about citizen science. So in case any of us need a refresher, the definition is a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, or motivated to make a difference. It is a great way for people to make an impact on issues that they care about, and it's all by helping science. So if you haven't already, your first step is going to be to join SciStarter. So SciStarter is a research affiliate of Arizona State University. and hosts a community of over 138,000 registered citizen scientists. SciStarter has over 1,600 projects to choose from, but don't let that number overwhelm you. It's super easy to narrow down project ideas by your interests and your location. So first thing you'll do is create an account. Just hit sign up on the top of the SciStarter.org homepage, and be sure to enter your zip code so that you can get personalized recommendations for projects that are special to your area. And I think Journey North is a great example of that, since all of these awesome migrating animals aren't everywhere in the world. You're going to want to be where they are migrating to participate. And when you sign up, you can also be sure to sign up for the email newsletter. That'll give you suggestions just twice a month for projects to try. And then once you're all signed up, you're ready to start looking for projects with the project finder. So that's just right there on the homepage as well, project finder on SciStarter. So another great resource to get you started, especially, or if you just want to give yourself a little citizen scientist boost, is to do our free training on the foundations of citizen science. So on SciStarter.org, there are several free trainings that are going to set you up for success in any citizen science project. So anyone can complete these training. And when you do, you'll earn a personalized badge that holds evidence specific to you that you completed the training. Now, the foundations training is a prerequisite for all the other trainings. And there are 3 more. There's one on data literacy. There's one on libraries as community hubs for citizen science. And there's one that is a training for citizen science in higher education. So those are great for educators. If you are an educator, a number of you are, your students can complete the training. And it includes participating in a couple projects, and they can earn a badge that they can send to you for proof of completion. Oops, sorry, I'm scrolling. Keep in mind that this, it does require the students to have a SciStarter account though, so that if that's an issue. Lost my train of thought. Students do have to have a SciStarter account, so it requires an email address to sign up, and so students under 13, that'll be your discretion. Okay. Well, here's just the other badges. Okay. So today's project is Journey North, and with this, I'm going to stop sharing and pass it over to Nancy. And just a reminder, if you have questions as we're going along, please drop them in the Q&A box.
Great. So I'll go ahead and share my screen now, Anna. That's okay. So you should be seeing my screen now. Yes?
Yep.
So thanks, Anna, for that great introduction. I think that's the first time I've been introduced as having a colorful background, so I love it. I love it. So thanks again for the invitation. I've been looking forward to talking with you and your audience about Journey North. I want to thank SciStarter also for being such a great champion of community and citizen science projects, especially creating this buzz during the month of April. So I'm happy to kind of be a bookend, the end of Citizen Science Week. So great to be a part of this event. So again, I am Nancy Sheehan. I go by the pronouns she, her, hers, program coordinator of Journey North, and I'm hoping that you'll see this presentation more of an invitation to join us at Journey North. But again, like Anna mentioned, SciStarter offers quite a menu of projects, and there is a project, I believe, for everyone out there. So the bottom line is please participate. So a couple things I'm going to talk about today is the mission and goals of Journey North, the importance of monitoring wildlife migration, our monitoring approach here at Journey North, and how you can help. So I included these polls in here. So anyway, I'm glad to
Sorry, Nancy.
people. That's all right. I'm glad to know that there are people out there who have heard of Journey North. I hope you're going to learn a little bit more about Journey North in this our time together. And for those who've never heard of Journey North, I hope I spark your interest to go on our website at the end of this presentation and to join us in our effort to track wildlife migration. So Journey North is a crowdsourced participatory science program. It is a program of the University of Wisconsin-Madison Arboretum, and this is our visitor center in the fall here, beautiful colors. Journey North began in 1993 at the dawn of the internet. So for that person who said they were a bored internet person out there, this was before that could have been a thing, believe it or not. So we're coming up to our 30th anniversary. It has not always been a program of the UW-Madison Arboretum. It was acquired by the Arboretum in 2018, which is when I joined to be the program coordinator. So long history. I want to take one moment to recognize that the University of Wisconsin-Madison occupies the ancestral Ho-Chunk land, a place their nation has called Dejop since time immemorial. Today, the UW-Madison respects the inherent sovereignty of the Ho-Chunk Nation, along with the 11 other First Nations of Wisconsin. So Journey North's mission is fairly straightforward. We're here to ignite interest in migratory species, raise awareness by sharing migration stories of the species that we follow, and contribute to the science of migration. So one might ask, why migration? Why do we focus on that? Well, one, it's a natural phenomenon that is happening all around us. It's often overlooked, and we're here to shine a light on that. So of the approximately 10,000 bird species, 1,800 are migratory. In North America, so it's not just birds that migrate, many other species do. And in North America, for example, there's been an estimated 71 migratory insect species, including butterflies, moths, dragonflies, beetles, and grasshoppers. So it's happening all around us, and we're here to tell the story and shine light on migration. I will say that it is often overlooked, and I would say even by myself. So I went online when I was pulling together this presentation. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology offers a dashboard that allows you to see the next day. They estimate how many bird species are migrating over the night sky according to whatever location you keyed in. I put in Dane County, Wisconsin, which is where Madison is located. On the 16th, the night of the 16th, there are estimated 3,600 bird species that were flying across the night sky. That was on the 16th. Of course, things have slowly warmed up here in Madison. I checked this dashboard this morning, and there was an estimated 14,000 individual bird species flying across the night sky in Dane County. So this was something that I wasn't aware as I was sitting in my house keeping warm. But again, it's really this incredible natural phenomenon that's taking place. And we're here to shed that light on this incredible phenomenon. And I will say that the journeys of these migratory species are epic in proportion. They're basically stories that tell themselves in a lot of ways. These migratory species cross widely diverse landscapes. They cross state borders, international boundaries. They encounter many perils from habitat loss to the built environment. Bird collisions, a big deal. Predators, the availability of and adequate amount of food and water. So it's like an epic story that you read in literature. There's challengers and there's risks and there's great feats of survival. So I thought I know that we don't have much time. I'm gonna watch Anna over here to tell me how I'm doing with the time. But I thought I would highlight some of these journeys just to show how incredible these species are. So first up is the story of the common loon. So the common loons is one of our project species. And for many of us in the northern part of the US and on into Canada, the arrival of the loon really is the harbinger of spring and the start of our summer when we hear that call. Loons travel close to 2,000 miles, some of them do. But like any good epic story, there are lots of side stories that can be told. So for example, loons that breed arrive here in the spring in the Midwest and out into Canada. So it's about right here and up into here on this map, spend their winter in the Gulf of Mexico. So these are really long distance spring migrants. But loons that overwinter on the Gulf of Maine have a shorter distance to travel. They choose to stay within New England. So they migrate inland to Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont. There are loons that overwinter along the Baja, and they migrate all the way up to Saskatchewan in Canada. So there's a lot of variability and just incredible stories to tell about the common loons. But I must move. Oh, one more feature that I think is really very interesting about loons and many of our migratory species. They are adapted to very diverse habitats. So loons during breeding season are on freshwater lakes. In the winter, you will see loons off the coast along the Atlantic and the Pacific. So they become ocean birds. So they've adapted to both to survive both those environments. So again, great stories to tell and great challenges for the loons to adapt to both of those habitats. The other featured bird in today's presentation is the rufous hummingbird. This is a Western species of hummingbird. It is, so I love hummingbirds. I could go on forever about hummingbirds also. They are about 3 inches long. The rufous hummingbird weighs between 2 and 5 grams. So you might be wondering how heavy 2 to 5 grams are. So if you put a nickel in the palm of your hand, that is basically 5 grams. So these are very small, lightweight birds, but it's amazing to know that some of the rufous hummingbirds travel as far as 4,000 miles between their overwintering area and their breeding ranges. So they don't do this just once, they do this twice in the spring and the fall. So these are incredible feats of survival for the rufous hummingbird and other hummingbirds. The Baltimore Oriole likewise travels great distances between their overwintering areas along the tip of South America, thousands of miles up into Northwest Canada. So again, just more incredible stories to be had from this that could be told by the Baltimore Oriole. Turning to insects, so the monarch butterfly, again, we could spend all day talking about the monarch butterfly. They have a very interesting migration story, and I'll just be real brief here, but there are basically 2 populations of monarchs. One is the eastern population, east of the Rockies, the western population, west of the Rockies. The eastern population of monarchs migrate to these high elevation fir forests in central Mexico. And the western population overwinters along the coast of California. So monarchs, right now we're in the throes of the spring migration. They are moving northward. The interesting element of the monarch butterfly migration story is that they complete the northward expansion into their breeding territory over multiple generations. And their return to the sanctuary, for example, the eastern population of monarchs return to those high elevation fir forests in Mexico. It's actually I have to count here, the great grandsons and daughters of the monarchs that are now migrating northward. So it's an intergenerational migration. So, another great story to tell about these migratory insects. But the bottom line is that migratory species in general are in decline. There was a study done that appeared in Science in 2019 that estimated 2.5 billion migratory birds have been lost since 1970. So what does that mean for orioles? It means 2 in 5 have been lost. For rufous, it has been estimated there's been a 60% decrease in the population since the 70s. Likewise, the eastern population of monarchs, the recent study done at their overwintering site found that there was a 22% decrease in the population. And this isn't just a snapshot of this past overwintering period. It has been a steady decline. And the same story can be told for the western population of monarchs. This past overwintering period, there was a population estimate done, and there was a 58% seasonal decrease. Again, not just this past season, but a gradual decline. So these decline really requires all hands on deck. It requires us all to be involved in protecting habitat for these migratory species and doing what we can to provide the data that will help us protect the ability of wildlife to migrate now and into the future. So that's really what Journey North's all about. That's our goal, our vision, our hope for the future, and what all our volunteers, once they join Journey North, join in that goal, that collective action. So quick couple features of Journey North. We focus on easily recognized migratory species, and we do this on purpose because we want as many people as possible to participate. So anyone 13 and above can register and join Journey North. If you're younger than 13, you do need to have a parent guardian involved. We are continental in scope, so we have we have people from Canada, the US, Mexico, US territories, Central America, all participating. But we need more people. We just need more coverage in more areas. We also focus on the timing of phenological events, as well as the presence of migratory species. So we don't really ask people to count, do surveys and counts, but we do ask people to let us know when these migratory species are in their midst. So that was the poll, and some of you got the correct answer. And now I'll run through some of the project species that we cover. So yes, our biggest project is the monarch butterfly migration and milkweed phenology project. We also ask our volunteers to help us track all the migratory hummingbird species. So that includes the ruby throat, the rufous, the broadtail, black chin, Allen's, Anna's, Costas, and Calliope. Our volunteers also help us track red-winged blackbirds, common loon, and ice out and ice on dates, bald eagles, Baltimore and Bullock orioles, American robins, barn swallows. And I will mention here that we have 3 more educational projects. First, the Symbolic Migration Project, which we co-facilitate with monarchs across Georgia. We also have Tulip Test Garden, where educators will engage students in establishing tulip gardens at their schools or nature centers to explore concept of phenology and seasonal change by planting bulbs in the fall, predicting emergence and bloom dates in the spring, and then reporting those bloom and emergence and bloom dates to Journey North. We also have this kind of more fun project where we really are asking lots of people to report what their personal sign of spring is, or their personal sign of fall is. So again, it's just this wonderful, it shows this wonderful mosaic of what spring means to many, many people. So it's wonderful just to read those comments and see those photos. So again, we're event-based phenology. So in the spring, it's all about the first arrivals of our migratory species that we track. First plant emergence, first blooms. Then in the summer, we move into asking our volunteers to let us know certain behaviors that they're seeing. So from nectaring to nest building to raising young. And then into the fall migration, which I don't know how it always seems to come too quick. After the spring migration, we feel like fall is just around the corner. It's all about the taking flight south, the southward journey. And then in the winter period, we still ask our volunteers to report the presence of migratory species in their midst and certain behaviors. So I think, yeah, we still have time. I'm going to just highlight two projects, the Hummingbird and the Monarch project, just to show you what kind of questions that we ask of our volunteers over the course of the year. So first up is the Hummingbird project. So again, in the spring, we're just really all about the firsts. And we ask our volunteers to let us know when they first see a hummingbird arrive. Usually people have their hummingbird feeders up, so they're able to give us an exact date. It's interesting to note that hummingbirds habituate, they use the same spring migration routes. They also return to a breeding habitat that they had been in previous years. So for some folks who register and are involved in Journey North for many years, they're actually waiting for their hummingbird to arrive back home, because it actually is the hummingbird that was there the previous years. So a really great opportunity to get to know your own backyard hummingbirds. We also ask our volunteers to note when they're seeing feeding and nectaring behavior. So as you can imagine, the migration is a very energy intensive enterprise. It's great that these hummingbirds have the hummingbird feeders, but they also rely on really rich pollinator gardens and nectar-rich flowering plants. So this is something that we ask our volunteers to note what plants hummingbirds are feeding from or nectaring from. So it gives us a sense of the richness of the habitat to which the hummingbirds are returning to. Spring moves into summer. It's behavior. Are we seeing the onset of breeding, defending breeding territory, mating, nest building? Again, we always ask the question of feeding and nectaring behavior, because we want to get a sense of resources that are available in the hummingbird habitat. Fall, quick on the heels of summer. It's interesting to note that in the fall, excuse me, hummingbirds will collect often collect around bird feeders, and also in gardens. They'll kind of go into like a feeding frenzy because they're trying to bulk up and get ready for that southward migration. So that's a behavior that we ask our volunteers to start noting and reporting to us. We also ask our volunteers to specifically focus on male hummingbirds. Male hummingbirds typically leave their breeding range first, followed by the female and the juveniles. And so in the fall, people can report kind of these male, transiting male hummingbirds through different parts of the US as they migrate southward. So that's it for hummingbird. And then we move on to just a quick overview of the monarch, our monarch reporting categories. We're really asking people again in the spring to let us know when they see that first monarch migrating into their area. We ask people to report when they see the first monarch egg, the first monarch caterpillar. We also ask our volunteers to let us know when milkweed emerges in the spring. So for some of you, you probably already know this, but monarchs and milkweeds are intimately connected. Monarchs can only lay their eggs on milkweed. Monarch caterpillars can only eat milkweed leaves. Milkweed has to be present in the landscape for monarchs to continue the migration and to reproduce. So this is a case where we're really trying to get a sense of, is milkweed present to receive the migrating monarchs as they move from their overwintering sanctuaries in Mexico and along the coast of California into their breeding range. Is milkweed there? So this is really an important kind of connection between a resource and the migrating species. We have similar questions in the spring and the summer. Are people seeing seeing monarchs, seeing eggs, seeing monarch larvae or caterpillars? Again, where is milkweed across the landscape? We're asking our volunteers to let us know when milkweed bloom, where milkweed is. And even though monarchs and milkweed are intimately connected, monarchs still need to nectar from flowers. So this is one of these cases where we also ask our volunteers to let us know if they're seeing monarchs nectaring upon which flowers. Fall is a active time at Journey North, and for monarchs, we're still asking all our volunteers to let us know if they're seeing adult monarchs, monarch egg, monarch caterpillars, where milkweed is across the landscape. But we're also asking our volunteers to note peak monarch migration events. So what do I mean by this? Is that in the summer, you'll see, one or two or three monarchs in your garden flitting about, flying about. In the fall, monarchs will travel sometimes in groups of 10, sometimes 50, sometimes hundreds. They're exhibiting directional flight southward, either to their overwintering sites in Mexico, and to some cases in California. So these are huge migration events that I actually have never seen, but I keep waiting to see myself. But we ask people to report this phenomenon. Monarchs are insects. So as the night comes and the day gets cooler towards the night, monarchs then rest in trees and in bushes in larger groups, congregation of monarchs that can be anywhere from 10 to 50 to hundreds in any one location. Those are called roosts. We ask people to tell us the location of those roosts. And then, of course, in the winter, it's all about where monarchs are roosting and staying over winter. So that's kind of the quick overview of just two of our projects. And I just wanted to let you know that we welcome everybody to participate. There's a lot of information online. It's a really simple process to participate, to register. This is the Journey North website, journeynorth.org website. You go to the registration tab. It's a 3-step process. You enter your name, address, a password. You are prompted and given the opportunity to subscribe to our e-newsletters. And I just did a quick screenshot here of the form to fill out. It's fairly straightforward. Name, typical thing to register. You can tell us more about where you heard about Journey North. When you hit that register now button, I will say that there will be a message sent to your inbox, your email, with an activation code. So don't forget to check your inbox, activate your account, and then you're ready to submit observational reports to Journey North. And equally, we're really trying to get as many people as possible, give them the ability to participate. So we have a fairly straightforward observational deck here, dashboard, where we ask you to give us the date. Again, dates are really important, especially in the spring. Location information, you can put the street address, you can move the little red location pin around, or if you want, you can enter the latitude and longitude of your observational sighting. You can upload a photograph. It is optional, but I will say that we love photographs because they provide, first of all, a voucher, and they also are we just enjoy seeing all those great photos from all our people, and to write comments. So this is a free text box to put the context of your observation, the weather, the habitat, any other information that would be important to give us a picture, in addition to your photograph, of where you're seeing this particular migratory species. One just additional note here, you see here, this says loon first sighted. This is what did you see is a drop-down menu dependent on what project you selected from the beginning. So I selected the loon project and selected the drop-down kind of checkbox for loon first sighted. But then you hit submit, your report immediately goes on one of our interactive maps. And so you can see your observational report alongside everyone else, and you're able to watch migration unfold northward in the spring and southward in the fall. Okay, so quick, a few more minutes here. I just wanted to run through to say, part of community and citizen science projects is that awareness building, that outreach. I firmly believe that, and have participated in many community and citizen science projects, and I just fall in love with the things that I'm doing. Whether it's identifying macroinvertebrates in a stream or monitoring migration of monarchs. It allows us to fall in love with these species. But on the other side, or in addition, is that we really, from Journey North's perspective, want you to know that the data that we're asking you to submit to Journey North is used for a purpose, and it's used for, to help inform action because of this incredible decline of our migratory species. So just one specific example I can give you is the monarch and the milkweed project. So here's a monarch in the background filled with milkweed stems. This to the monarch is what they want to see. This is the world of the monarch. Oftentimes in the spring, however, this little call out photo here shows in the spring that field of milkweed hasn't yet emerged, hasn't come up yet. And so it's a real struggle for some migrating monarchs in the spring to find enough milkweed to actually reproduce. So you can see here on these very small stems, you've got one little egg, monarch egg here. Here's another female laying an egg here on this very short stemmed milkweed. So this is a question that many researchers and people engaged in land management are asking. Is there enough milkweed on the landscape? So our volunteer collected generated data helps many people determine answers to that question, especially in the spring. So I know that this may be a little bit odd, but these are snapshots of our interactive maps that from March 7th. This one shows the greening up of milkweed. So we see a milkweed emergence sighting here right outside of Dallas, Texas. And then you see an observation of a monarch just north of Dallas. So the question could be raised is, okay, are monarchs going to find milkweed north of Dallas in time to receive, to be able to reproduce? So this is one of those instances where is there a mismatch between the species migrating behavior and the resources that they depend upon. This is a snapshot of the May 25th, several weeks later, and it shows that, yes, milkweed is emerging and is ready in kind of the southern part of Canada before the monarchs arrive to then breed and reproduce. This is one of my last slides here. This is another area where volunteer generated data can help assess habitat needs of these migratory species. In this case, it's monarchs. This map is a Journey North interactive map that shows the location of monarch roosts in the fall. Many of these migratory species kind of follow a superhighway, a migratory superhighway. We call them migration corridors. And all along that corridor, that superhighway, there has to be pit stops, not unlike us all taking our long trips. We need to stop at gas stations and places to get food. So do these migratory species. There has to be nectar-rich habitat, for example, for the hummingbirds, and for migrating monarchs, there has to be kind of tree and bush structures available for them to roost in the evening. So maps like this show land managers and others where habitat is most needed for these migratory species. So last but not least, I'm going to end where I started. It's all about the story too. And we can't tell the story without our volunteers. And I think the end of the day, the thing that gets me, I'm gonna get a little emotional here, but is really when I read through the comments of all our volunteers, I see the joy that these migratory species give to them. So here I have a quote from Chris in Ontario. He says, "So happy to have been to have the first visit at 1 o'clock of this beautiful male Baltimore Oriole. He heard him first. It was on the exact same day as last year. So here's a volunteer who's been obviously keeping track and is just waiting. And he said it just brightens up a cloudy day. So this is joy. This is what our migratory species provide us. If they disappear, that joy will be gone. And I think that this really shows that migratory species, are part of our fabric of our life and just enrich it greatly. So I hope really that you heard something that inspires you to check us out, journeynorth.org. You can submit observational reports, but you can also participate by reading our newsletters, which we publish 5 newsletters every week during the spring and the fall migration. So it's really a busy time, but we welcome readers and submitters of observational reports. So I will stop sharing now, right?
Sure. Thank you so much, Nancy. That was awesome. We do have a couple minutes left for Q&A. So I'm just going to jump right to it. You all better put your questions in the Q&A or else you'll have to hear my questions. But one from Paul. Paul asks if you are combining tracking of all types of milkweed,
Yes.
or if you split out native and non-native milkweeds.
Oh, that's a great question, Paul. So we do ask our volunteers to at least tell us the species of milkweed that they're seeing. We don't disregard non-native milkweed. We do provide, and here's where Journey North doesn't do anything alone. We work in collaboration with other organizations. We work closely with Monarch Joint Venture that has a lot of information about tropical milkweed that can be problematic in some areas and cause some disease for monarchs. But we provide that information to our volunteers, but we want people to let us know all and any milkweed that they're seeing. Great question.
All right, well, you're gonna get my questions. So I have a milkweed growing in my yard, and I just noticed it the other day. It's about 2 inches tall right now, but it is buried under plants that are bigger. Should I cut out the plants around it? Can monarchs find a milkweed if it's buried underneath other vegetation?
Yes, I would say that monarchs can find the milkweed, and depending on this, the type of milkweed that you have planted there, it might top off the other surrounding plants once you have a warm period. I don't know about Missouri yet, but it's pretty cold here in Wisconsin.
It's much warmer here. It's much
warmer. Okay. But to your point, I think we all have to plant more milkweed. So what I would say to you is not cutting down the other plants surrounding that one milkweed, but to plant even more milkweed in your garden if you can. Or I would say if you don't have a big garden, you can plant pots. Do pollinator gardens in pots. Do milkweed plants in pots.
Awesome. All right, we've got another question from Andy Cook. Andy asks about a suggestion he made to Journey North last year. Have you considered taking the symbolic butterflies that kids here and in Mexico draw and printing them to sell cards for raising money?
Oh, well, I missed that suggestion. Thanks, Andy, for that suggestion. So just as a bit background there, Andy obviously is a participant in our symbolic migration project. Basically, classrooms decorate ambassador butterflies, these larger paper butterflies that are sent to an environmental educator we work with outside of the monarch biosphere in Mexico, and that then are distributed to students in neighboring schools. Students here also in the US and Canada decorate small life-size paper monarchs. And then those are distributed around, kind of mixed up and sent off to all the participants. So some of those butterflies, as Andy is pointing out here, are just lovely decorated paper monarchs. So that's a great idea. And maybe we'll call on Andy to help make that come about.
Well, another question from me. So am I recalling correctly that you have your live maps online so we can watch?
Yes.
Journey North?
Yes.
So I feel like that, how do people use that? Can we use that to know like when to put up our hummingbird feeders and things like that?
Yes, great question. So I do know that some people really watch those maps, first of all, to kind of prime themselves for being on the lookout. So it lets you know that, okay, you saw a monarch or hummingbird in Missouri. I know that Wisconsin might not be too far behind. And the same for putting up bird feeders and hummingbird feeders. So yes, although some people do keep their bird feeders up all winter long, at least hummingbird feeders up, especially if they're in the southern parts. And there's no indication that prevents the hummingbirds from, migrating on. So yeah, but people use that for that. There are, remember I talked about the peak monarch events where they see hundreds of monarchs. People watch in those areas along the flyway zones for monarchs, watch our maps to then, if they can, travel to where those peak events are happening, because it's a pretty amazing sight.
See that. I would love to see that.
So yes, it's, what would you say? Tourism there.
Yeah. I'm not too far from a few spots that get big fall congregations. Like I think out in Kansas, there's a couple spots, Kansas and Nebraska.
Yeah, and it's also interesting for the roosts. Peninsulas are very important. So in the Great Lakes, we have island peninsulas that stretch out into the Great Lakes tend to be hotspots for monarch migration. So yes, if you're so fortunate, go and see this great phenomenon.
Yeah.
And report to Journey North.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're out of time for questions. We'll just do a few quick announcements before we go. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Let's see. Wait, that's not what I want to share. Hold on. Okie doke. Just a few last notes. So we just want to mention our upcoming SciStarter Live events. Next week, we're going to be wrapping up Citizen Science Month. We will talk about all the cool things that happened in April that hopefully a lot of you participated in, including this very event. So thank you for coming to this Journey North event. On May 9th, we're going to have a Mother's Day special live event. And as always, you can check our blog. There's a blog post that's pinned to the top of blog.scistarter.org. If you ever lose it, that will always have the upcoming SciStarter Live events. And it is still Citizen Science Month. There's 5 days left of Citizen Science Month. So if you have not participated in some extra citizen science, we would encourage you to do so. Roland just dropped the link to the Citizen Science Month website in the chat. So if you want to learn more about what the month is all about, and find some awesome ways to participate. The short version is there's a lot of extra events and a lot of extra cool citizen science stuff going on. So definitely check that out. And there are a couple other SciStarter resources we just want to bring your attention to before we depart. So if you ever get stuck on a project, whether that's Journey North or something else, there's a couple things you can do to get unstuck. So you can ask the community of citizen scientists that are registered on SciStarter. So on the bottom of every SciStarter project page, there's a comment box. You can leave a review or ask a question about the project, and anybody can answer it. There's also an option to ask the project leaders. So there is a message project button on every SciStarter project page, which will just send an email to the registered project leader, and that can answer your questions that way. You can also always ask SciStarter. SciStarter exists to help you be a better citizen scientist. So just email info@scistarter.org and they will either answer your question or direct you to someone who can. There's also some more great ways to engage with citizen science. So you can listen to the Citizen Science podcast. You can find that on scistarter.org/podcast. Our awesome host, Bob Hirschon, puts one out once a month featuring either new projects or new updates from projects. It's a really fun way to stay in the loop. We already mentioned our training pages. And if you're ready to find your next project, we just encourage you to go to SciStarter.com or SciStarter.org, /finder to find some awesome new projects to do. Finally, we hope you'll join us next week. And when you exit, I believe, a survey will pop up on your screen. And we encourage you to fill out our post-event survey. That helps us pick topics that you like and keep making sure these live events are what you all want it to be. I think that is the end. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy. That was awesome. I am super excited to go check on my milkweed that's buried under my asters and see what's there yet. I have seen one butterfly so far this year, not a monarch, but I have a feeling they're all coming soon. And you've encouraged me to put up my hummingbird feeder before I see a hummingbird. Normally I wait until I'm like, oh, I should really put that out. I keep seeing hummingbirds.
Yeah, I think there are hummingbirds in Wisconsin. So yeah, you should.
Oh, I'm late. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye.